There I am. I found myself. Whoa, holy cow, I'm loud. Hello? Oh. Whoops. So this is Reification versus some guy, some Protoss guy, Kobe Bryant. So TvP doesn't work. You can't. It doesn't work macro-wise. Like in TvZ and TvT, especially in the lower leagues, you can win all your games just by having better macro than your opponent. But in TvP, it's not really true, because if he gets 5 Colossus and some Storm, what the heck? I can't scroll down. I hate this. There we go. And some charge lots, then you can have a 200 unit space army versus his 200 unit space army, and you will not just lose, you'll lose without any guys left alive at the end. So because late game TvP is so broken from the Terran's perspective, it's better just to try to not make it that far. And if that means losing the game before then, fine. You were going to lose it if you went to then anyway, so why not lose it earlier? And if that means winning the game before then, all the better. Now you get to win. So that's why in TvP I always either 1 base or 2 base, but if you make a 3rd base, you're basically asking to lose. And if you fully saturate your 2nd base, you're also kind of asking to lose, because that takes, unless you go CC first, that takes until like 9 minutes, and the first Colossus will tend to be out around 10 minutes and 30 seconds or so. He can get it as early as 8 minutes, but then he'll lose to a 2-Rax poke. And sometimes people never make Colossus, but those people you get to win no matter what you do, so don't worry too much about them. So it looks like you went for a really fast expansion, which I don't like at all in TvP. You're going for a bunch of pure marines with double gas. I don't know why you need so much gas when you have nothing that can spend gas. And you cut workers. I don't know if you did that on purpose. This just seems very confused. It seems like you don't really know what you want to be doing here, and then you're throwing down a tech lab and 2 reactors. This is just some 3-rack stuff, but it's too late by now. Like the 8-minute. Okay, so TvP is the actual matchup that I developed the benchmarks for, because in TvP, any time after he gets warp gate technology, from 6 minutes on, he can hit you with a maximum strength army, and you never know when it's going to come, and it's impossible to really scout, because he could put the warp gates like over here if he wants to. You never really know if it's coming, so you just always have to be capable of defending against anything he could be doing. And that's not so much true about TvT and TvZ, because you can usually scout what they're doing, and a lot of times, like, the most popular builds for those matchups don't involve attacking very early. My mic seems all choppy. I hate that. Anyway. So yeah, the 8-minute benchmark is 2,000. You have 1,000. So you would just die if he came right now with a really strong 6-minute push. And this looks like what he's actually planning to do. He's got a very big army, but he left a bunch of it at home, and he made a nexus. So I think he was planning on killing you, and suddenly he decided against it for no good reason. But he could have ended the game right there. When it was 800 bucks against 2,000, he could have ended the game. He's probably still going to kill you. But I don't know why he didn't make a pylon at your base and keep warping in more and more troops. So, like, even if he does kill you, he's going to kill you with like half of what he should have at this point. Anyway, so I think that's kind of the end of this game, right? As soon as you're forced to pull a bunch of workers, it just means that it's going to be a long time before you can transition back into having a strong army. And again, time is on Protoss's side. Anytime you delay, the later we get into the game, the more likely it is he'll have 3 Colossus. So I don't know if the same really holds true for this guy, because he doesn't seem to be making Colossus, but he should be, man. He should be. Blinkstalkers is an opening, it's not a build. So yeah, you get ripped to shreds, and even though you've built more than him, he's killed like 800 times as much as you. Blinkstalkers is a terrible build, by the way. You only really took damage to Blinkstalkers because you didn't have an army when it first showed up, and that's the strength of Blinkstalkers, is that if you ever try playing Protoss, like against the AI or against nobody, it's so easy to make a crap ton of stalkers, because they're like marauders. They spend your minerals and gas at a reasonable ratio, and the production per gateway is a lot higher for stalkers than it is for zealots and for sentries, and I don't know about sentries actually, but than it is for zealots. So it's just really easy to mass stalkers, and so a lot of people try to do it. It's not a very good strategy if you have a big army. So he kind of blew it by just sticking with stalkers for too long, but the lead he got early on where he did 4,000 damage and he did almost none, that was an unwinnable scenario. He should have won from there, and he didn't, and that's his fault. Good job using your army and getting medevacs. Basically, the counter to Blink Stalkers is the same as the counter to Void Rays, is the same as the counter to any Immortals, the same as the counter to any of the stuff that Protoss uses to get that early army size advantage. What you see Protoss doing is this, where his army is big and your army is small. This is how all of the Protoss pushes work until about 10 minutes. All of the early Protoss pushes are, I'm going to make more troops than you can, and I'm going to make them in your base because I have proxy pylons. So he gets a bigger army than you. These units aren't stronger than you, but there's more of them. So until you catch up on army, he gets to win all of these fights. So even right now, it's still 3,000 to 2,500 and all about that stuff. Plus, when you pull these workers, you're kind of crippling yourself. And then right here, you pulled workers, but it just gets to kill them all because you walk in range of the high ground. So, like, yeah, at this point, bad things have happened. So anyway, this was like a macro style. This was I'm gonna never cut workers. I'm gonna keep making more and more money, and I'm gonna win because I have more money than you. And that is eventually why you won. I think. I feel like Blink Stalkers. The counter to them is medevacs, stim and medevacs. I'm sorry, I was like the counter to them is the same as the counter to everything else, and then I never said what it was. Stim and medevacs is the counter to everything Protoss can do. Also. Anytime they blink to the high ground, that means they have vision of the high ground. That means there's an observer. If you kill it, then they can no longer blink to the high ground. So Nick is finally discovering that the build I've been telling him to do since the dawn of time is awesome. It's so silly. So anyway, the build Nick's talking about is the 2-1-1, and we'll watch the rest of your games and then talk about that. So even though you won that game, you got really far behind because you didn't have very much army at 8 minutes. And in TvP, it's all about 8 minutes. It's all about 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes. Like, the whole game comes down to that small period of time, because if the game goes longer than that, you only win if he's an idiot. Like in that game, he was an idiot, so you get to win. But you wanna start Facebook Money Playheim BSD. I don't know what that is. That's kind of neat. GSL Atlantis spaceship. Did you win money playing on Playheim? Oh, what the heck? Why did it just show the score of some other game? Boop, 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 boop. So again, I'm suspecting you're not going to do a build that's worth talking about. You're probably going to do the same kind of build that's really good in TVT and TVZ. The fast expand into a late army advantage. And you'll notice that the early benchmarks are $1,000 at 6 minutes, and there's no way to hit that if you're fast expanding. And the next one is $1,500 at 7 minutes. Again, no way to hit that if you fast expanded. The next one is 8 minutes, 2,000. You can hit that with a fast expand if you cut defenses early and like overproduce production infrastructure in order to catch up. But then you'll just die to any sort of 6 minute poke. So with the necessity to have multiple bunkers in order to survive the fact that you fast expanded, you're going to have a lot of problems getting the $2,000 at 8 minutes. Then 9 minutes is 2750. You'll probably be able to hit that as long as he doesn't attack you, and as long as you keep up on your production infrastructure. But again, in TvP, force fields just rip infantry to shreds. So if you don't start your factory by 6 minutes and 30 seconds, you can't have a tank or a Banshee until really late. And if you don't have tanks and Banshees, you're just going to get ripped to shreds by force fields. So there's no push you can really legitimately do when your army size at 8 minutes is 900 plus a bunker is 1,000. So I don't think you planned to push. I think your plan is to fast expand and defend your second base until you have tech units, and that's a perfectly reasonable plan against everyone but Protoss. So here comes Mr. Protoss Man. I think you have enough to defend this, especially if you pull SCVs, which you do. And that's good. You pulled too many SCVs, though. I would like to see 5 SCVs pulled or something, but whatever. I guess, you know, if you see that much army, especially that many zealots, it means he 4-gated, and it looks like he 3-gate Twilight Counciled or whatever. It means that he 1-based, basically. So it's okay to pull a lot of workers, but you only want to pull them for a second and then send them home, man. So even with the workers pulled, your income is still massively bigger than his. This is because you went for an econ build and he went for an aggressive build, but he didn't attack until way too late. If he had come at 6 minutes, he would have won, but he came at like 9 minutes, and by then you'd caught up. So now double medevac. You've got stim and just stim, no combat shields. I don't like that so much. Looks like your minerals are getting really high, but your gas isn't. You should have taken more gas earlier and gotten like I don't know, something that could spend gas or something, or just made a third command center or something. I don't know. Who cares what you should have done? This build is not viable in TvP because he can just rush straight to Psystorm and then you're screwed. So here we go. At 11 minutes, you should have what, 4,000 plus 800 is like 4,800 army, and you have 3,100. So basically no army, and that's because you have 1,400 in the bank, and also because you spent a ton of money on SCVs. You've got 50 SCVs, and that's great for the way that you were trying to play. You played it really well, and this is very impressive. You're gonna win this fight and probably win the game. Well done. But if the Protoss goes for a fast expand into a straight tech to Colossus, he'll have 3 Colossus, 4 Colossus by now, and there's nothing that infantry with 2 medevacs can do against 4 Colossus. So you run the risk, bro, of running into someone with a lot of sentries who knows how to use them, or running into a lot of Colossus. I don't know why he didn't just retreat at this point. What was he thinking? So it looks like you're going to easily win this game, and your spending is going to be more than double his, and this is the strength of doing a really good macro play, and this is exactly what I love to see you do in TVZ and TVT. And as you said, your win rate in TVZ and TVT is like 80% doing this kind of thing, where you just out-macro your opponent, and that's awesome. I'd love to see your minerals not be at 3,000 right now. But yeah, just generally good job, well played. And as you said in your email, your win rate against Protoss is really low doing this, because anytime they just choose to get Psystorm or Colossus, you're going to lose. So he's got the Bay, and he's not making any Colossus, so I suspect he's just going to die. Yeah, he's just going to leave. So this is another example of how things can go well when you do a macro style. You had 8,000 spent compared to his 6,000, so you won on pure economy. No, nothing else. Just I made workers, therefore I win, kind of thing, and that's awesome. That's a great way to win, and that is the way you should always be winning in the other 2 matchups. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that you should try the timing style in TvP, because the timing style in TvP will serve you throughout every league. It is awesome. It is a great style, and it's very easy to do. But if you can't manage it, if you can't have a big army at a specific time and attack with it, then go back to doing this, man. Macro play is fine. The big difference between TvP and the other matchups is that you want to cut workers at like 40, 46, or 52 or something. Whereas in the other matchups, you want to keep expanding and making more and more workers. In TvP, it's okay to fast expand and go for a big infrastructure and try to spend all that money. But first of all, you're going to need more gas quicker, because you can't really be massing Marines after he gets Colossus. That's the problem, is that in the other 2 matchups, you can dump all that extra minerals you get from fast expanding into command centers and Marines and SCVs. And in TvP, you don't want a bunch of SCVs, you don't want a bunch of command centers, and you don't want a bunch of Marines. And you don't really want a bunch of Hellions, so there's no mineral dump. Marines are the best unit in the world in TvP. But once he has 4 or 5 Colossus, Marines kind of suck. So you really want to be making a lot of Marines early and winning the game. Oh, you emptied the bunker right as he hit you. That sucks. And again, I feel like you played against the same build 3 times in a row. Is this the same guy? Anyway, let's look. To talk about what actually happened in this game at 8 minutes. It looks like you've got 875 plus a bunker, exactly like before, and that's just not enough to resist a $2,000 push. Luckily, your opponent isn't doing a $2,000 push. He is not as good as he wants to be. He expanded and did a little wussy push instead. And this is kind of a waste of force field energy, I feel like. His push is stupid. He doesn't get the bunker, but even if he did get the bunker, he can't win from there. Should have had way more zealots. Should have had a much bigger army just in general, or waited and used the immortals. I mean, he got this quick robo. Why'd you get the robo if you're not going to make immortals? 2 immortals and that bunker is dead. So again, 9-minute benchmark is 2750, and you've got 1700. And here we go. He's attacking you again. Again, he's attacking you with a pretty tiny army, and he would have definitely won if he'd been actually doing a real push, but what he's doing is delaying you. He's making it look like he's an aggressive pushing kind of guy, trying to get you to pull workers, trying to get you to, you know, screw up your build, and then just walking away. So at 10 minutes, you're looking for $4,000 of army. You've got 2,000. You've got half the army you want. He's got 3,000, which isn't very good. He should have 3,500, 4,000 as well. But he's going for the delay you while I expand and expand and expand style. I believe that this game he did a 3-worker harass. You said? I don't know. I don't see it. You mentioned in your note that you're annoyed by Protoss worker harass, and what I always do is hotkey 2 workers that are on distant patches, like this one and this one to 2, this one to 3. And as soon as you see the enemy probe, hit 2 and right click on the enemy probe so that an SCV starts following him. And then watch. And if he starts to hit this builder, hit 3 and bring your other SCV up here to replace this builder. So as this builder gets low, the other builder shows up, and when he shows up, tell him to start building the racks and this guy to go home. The hotkey to stop building a racks without canceling it is to have your worker selected and hit T. And then worker harass is like nothing. So I don't even see him worker harassing right now. I don't know what the problem was. I guess it was a different game that you said he pulled 3 workers. But whatever. It takes this probe forever to get to your base, and he's not mining the whole time he's there. So it's totally fine to chase him with an SCV. You don't lose anything by doing that. I don't know about scouting. What are you specifically looking for with this scout? Right? You see a ton of chrono boost saved up at 4 minutes. He's already... What? Oh, okay. No, he already started. He didn't already finish it. So usually, I mean, the thing is, in your league, you're not going to be able to tell anything from scouting. Because people just save chrono boost for no reason. Because they're bad. So, I don't know, like, especially that early, all you can tell is his location, and this is a 2-player map. So, if you don't have anything that you're trying to learn from the scout, don't do the scout. One thing you can scout for is whether or not he got a quick nexus, but you don't need to scout with an SCV for that, because you can scout with a marine for that. Scout with your first marine to go see if you got a quick nexus kind of thing. I like that you took the watchtower, but you never saw this, which is fine. I don't think you should have saw that, but just, you know. And now, even though he fast expanded and you fast expanded, he's betting that you did it poorly. And he's right. Like, you got, you know, 2,000 bajillion minerals and gas in the bank, and you not enough supply depots. You're supply blocked at 70 right now. So, yeah. You should, honestly, with the build you did, you should be able to resist this pressure a little better. But it's not really a big deal. Because you survive it. Ooh, and you're gonna keep these guys not mining for a long time. Then you finally bring him back to mining, and he comes in again. This is funny. So anyway, and this is the vulnerability of having only racks at the 11-minute mark. I mean, he can just keep doing that all day, and he can always run away because he's got force fields and guardian shield. And you know, until you get stim and medevacs, gateway units will kick your butt. So the counter to gateway units is stim and medevacs, and you're just not getting those very quickly. So he's got a 3rd base coming up. It's all the way at 12 minutes. Nice push. I don't know what he means. This isn't a push. You didn't do a push. You just defended. So he correctly notices that you're quite good, but you're screwed at this point. It's 3 base to 1. And nothing you can do from here. Anyway. So I don't like fast expanding in TvP, bro. Don't like it. Don't like it! So don't do it. There you go. So this is more like what you want to do in TvP. You're going for, like, you remember, we looked at 3 games of yours, and each time at 8 minutes you had $875 in a bunker. So this build is the 2 racks poke, which will actually win a lot of games straight up. You just make 2 racks, make constant Marauders and Marines from each of those racks, and rally them to existing Marauders. And you'll just be able to kill anyone who fast expands. If they fast expand, you just win. And if they fast tech, like if they go straight to Colossus without any units to defend, or if they go straight to DTs without any units to defend, or there's a lot of scenarios in which you're just going to win the game with your first poke. But in any scenario where you don't win the game with your first poke, you still get to win the game at 10 minutes. So at 8 minutes it's going to have $2,000, and at 10 minutes it's going to have like $4,800, and it's crazy. So I don't know if you saw the way this worked. Depot racks gas. Second racks. This, you know how normally we make 16 SCVs and then we morph this into an orbital? With this build, you make 17 SCVs and then morph it into an orbital. And then reactor core, as soon as this, after this racks, makes one marine, and that marine is going to be your scout. And then tech lab as soon as this racks is done. And get yourself a marauder, get 2 marines, keep up SCV production, and get concussive shells. And this guy is your depot builder. He's just going to make depots all game. You don't need, you should theoretically never need anyone else to make depots, but it is important that he makes depots constantly, especially once you have your factory pumping and stuff. So as soon as concussive shells finishes, you notice you have 100 minerals and 100 gas extra. You have 2 choices here, and I am in favor of the factory. Just not using the gas, but I'm also in favor of concussive shells, but I'm not in favor of stim. I used to actually go for stim at this point, but what can happen with stim is that you just end up over stimming. Like if you're going to win a fight with stim, you probably would have won it without stim, and the difference before you have medevacs is huge. You'll have a lot more health left over winning it without stim. So concussive shells is great. Not concussive shells. Combat shields is great, so just get that instead. Anyway, so the first 4 marines and a marauder are just going up here, and the raxes are all just rallied on top of this marauder. You should actually right-click the marauder, then shift-click on all of the marines. Actually, what you should do is rally it to like the watchtower near his base, and then shift right-click on all of these guys, so that even when these guys are all dead, your guys will still at least walk to the watchtower. Because one thing that sucks is rallying to a marauder and then having him die, and then all of your guys just stop midfield. So you notice I haven't taken the second gas. I've been keeping up on workers. I've been making depots and just making sure to keep up production on these guys. I started combat shields. So you're going to make your factory the second you have 100 gas saved up. And at this point, you're looking at these guys. Anytime it says you have an idle worker, you're hitting F1 and making a depot, keeping up on these things remotely while looking at your army. So you've got these guys all hotkeyed, and you're just staring at your army with them hotkeyed and making sure that nobody drops down to zero pips. So you come with this first thing. You notice it's all the way up at like 620 when I get here. So from 0 minutes to 620 is when Terran has this huge advantage. You get here, if he has a nexus, you kill him. If he doesn't have a nexus, you suicide 1 marine up the ramp to see how many units he has up there. And if he has only 2 units, you kill him. If he has 3 or 4 or 5 units, you just run away. You just go home. So in most cases, if he doesn't have a nexus, you're going to end up going home. The only reason you check up the ramp is because if he's rushing DTs or Colossus drops or something cute and silly and doesn't have any units, you can just kill him there. So you notice, you don't notice yet. So I didn't build a bunker. When you get here, if he has what is it called? No nexus, and you poke up the ramp and you can't win, chances are he's doing a 1 base play. So you throw down a bunker behind this bunker. And then you just kind of go home. So your army at this point at 7 minutes is $1,350 plus $100 of concussive shells and $200 of combat shields, which is almost done. So that's like 15 to 16, 1650. That's a lot more than the fast expand, obviously. And you want to use the fact that your army is as big as anyone's army can possibly be. Look, the money is at completely zero. You've got the most you can possibly have spent on army right now. Until you start this factory, that'll be true. So until about 6.5 minutes, you're going to have the strongest army that anyone can possibly have. You can still lose to Protoss because their zealots are crazy strong, mixed with force fields and guardian shield. But in general, unless he's 4-gating or Void Ray pushing you, you're going to be able to kill anything he throws at you. Like if he's doing 3-gate fake pressure, like you saw in the games we just watched, then you'll just rip it to shreds. I made a Marine in order to afford the factory, and now I'm swapping this dude to make a reactor core. You have two choices really. Marines are going to be better all around than Marauders when you do this kind of build. Because your goal is to win before he has Colossus. If he gets Colossus, you're going to lose no matter what you do. And Marauders are only really good if he gets Colossus. So you don't really need them. You need enough Marauders for concussive shells. You need enough Marauders so that he can't retreat. But once he can't retreat, Marines do way more damage and have, you know, almost the same health per dollar, not per unit. So now we're just trying to avoid spending gas because we need to get enough gas to get a medevac out, and then we're going to push with our first medevac. So again, at 8 minutes in the game that we watched, you saw he attacked you. Well, what's going on? I got 1,500 and 300 of tech. It looks like I actually don't have very much. Okay, so there we go, 1,650. I just needed to wait 2 seconds. So this is 1,950. So this is basically $2,000 of army. And the big one is going to be at 9 minutes when I actually can make a tank, because these two buildings are going to constantly make $500 of units for over and over and over, but I stopped using this building, so that's going to be a little bit less. And once you have 3 buildings, then it's 750, and 4 buildings is capable of spending $1,000 per minute. Anyway, you're just throwing down this starport and getting the factory and making Marines and all that kind of stuff. And anytime you don't have the gas to make a tank, just make a Hellion. So really you want to push with this first medevac. I got kind of carried away and didn't push with the first medevac, but you should push with the first medevac, because if you wait too long, you're going to lose the game. So the 2-on-1 gives you a much stronger opening, and you can flat out win a lot of games against Nexus firsts and against fast techs, but it doesn't give you a lot of tech. So sentries and force fields can still kind of rip you up. And especially if you swap this guy and make the reactor, that's gonna eat into your army size a little bit. Again, we have 300, 400, $500 of tech, so this is 3725. This is a 3725 army. So you should be able to benchmark yourself. You should always have 38 or 37 workers, and including the tech that you built, it should be 3,500 or higher. So this is 37, maybe 38. Yeah, 38. I don't know, whatever. And that's the goal. So 2-1-1 is tech light, marine heavy. And the other one is the 1-1-1 that hopefully you've seen a bunch of times, which is tech heavy, marine light, right? It's the opposite. So marine heavy builds are going to do great against Immortal Zealot, which is an extremely common composition for Protoss to go for because it's the counter to the 1-1-1. And also, if you do the early poke and he went Nexus first and you don't win, it's going to force him to make more and more and more and more Stalkers and Zealots and Stalkers and Zealots and Stalkers and Zealots in order to just to survive that, and Immortals and things that he can get out quickly. He's not going to want to be teching while you're constantly attacking him. So the 1-1-1, I should actually go through this more slowly, is different. It's really good against high sentry count compositions, high sentry count gateway compositions, and it's a lot better against Colossus. Sentry Colossus will rip the 2-1-1 to shreds, but it'll lose pretty heftily to the 1-1-1. So it's, you know, the thing is you have to choose at the beginning of the game which one you're going to do, because the 1-1-1 is going to start this factory at 3:30. Like, you don't get a chance to scout him and see what he's doing before you choose. You either throw down the factory or you don't. And this second depot, actually, as soon as you throw down the second depot, you're not 2-1-1ing anymore. So this build is the 12 racks and then the depot. You need, any build you do, you need a wall in as quick as you can get it. So this is like a 2 minute and 40-second depot. And then as soon as you have 100 gas, you throw it on the factory. As the factory is almost completed, you can get this. This is actually a weird variant. There's another variant that Nick does where you don't get this reactor core until after you've gotten the starport. And I think that's better because it actually gives you the first Banshee quick enough to survive 2-gate pressure. So let's not pay too much emphasis to this. So the idea is that you get a Hellion to scout with, factory at 3:30, starport at 4:30 if you can, tech lab on the factory. This bunker has to go down at like 4 minutes in order to be done by 5. Constant SCVs from 1 worker again. Second gas can be delayed until almost when you're getting your starport. And from here you just mass tank Banshee with Marines as much as you can make. Tanks, Banshees, and Marines. If your first Hellion scouts a Nexus, you can salvage the bunker, like that. Once you have at least a tank. Don't salvage it when you have 4 Marines, that'd be silly. And so my first Banshee went over here to get an idea of what he's doing. My second Banshee is going to join my army. Going to pull a bunch of SCVs and go. So the cool thing about the 211, I mean about the 111, is that unlike the 211, you can't really kill him if he fast expanded. You can't really kill him if he fast teched. All you can do is see what he did with your first Hellion. But at 8 minutes, you have this huge army that already includes a Banshee over here and 3 siege tanks. So if you do spot a fast Nexus and a fast tech to like a Robo tech or something, or a Twilight Council tech, you can just go at 8 minutes, and that's something that you can't do with the 2-on-1. It's a nice advantage of this build. But in a normal game, if he's doing normal things like 3-gate Robo with a 7-minute expo or something, you should really delay your push like I'm doing now and wait and pull SCVs super late and at 9:30, and then the SCVs will get across the field and you can go kill him at 10 minutes. So just like the 2-on-1, this is a 10-minute timing attack, and timing attacks mean that you're trying to have the biggest army you possibly can have at 10 minutes. So notice we don't have combat shields and we don't have concussive shells, so the $300 that would normally show up as those things is now showing up in the army menu. We do have stim. So this is a $4,075 army with 38 workers. So in both cases you want 38 workers, in both cases you want to bring 16 of them with you, and in both cases you want at least a $3,500 army. In one I got 38, and the other I got 4,000. The goal is to have a huge freaking army at 10 minutes, because in all of those games that we watched, the other games, your opponent always had a $32,000 or a $3,000 army at 10 minutes. So if you come with a $4,000 army, you're just going to crush him. And especially if he has a Nexus, it's hard to defend the low ground as Protoss because it takes so many more force fields to cover this area than it would to just cover the ramp. So just come and kill him and be happy. So 100 supply is typical. 3 Banshees, 4 tanks, 22 Marines, 38 SCVs, and 3 Hellions. Good times, good times. Hellions aren't great, but they're not terrible. You really only want to build them because the alternative is not building anything. If it comes down to choosing whether to make 2 Marines or whether to make a Hellion, you would always want the Marines. So don't make Hellions on purpose, but there's going to come lots of times when you just don't have the gas to make a siege tank. Rather than letting the factory be idle, you can make the Hellions. So that is all I have to say about that.